George Kilpatrick, Inspiration for the Nation, celebrating people we feel good about. We continue our conversation with many of those presenters who are going to be gracing us at the Dream Summit this Saturday, the 27th of August. Will be the big day, the gala, the panels, and our very own Super Bowl champion, Dorsey Levens out of Nottingham. There's a bulldog up in here, is going to be one of the keynote speakers as part of that event. And Dorsey, it's always, look, stranger to the Q's. You're in and out all the time, and certainly the work that you've done in the community and philanthropy. But you're based in the ATL now, and so that's pretty good. So, Dorsey, first of all, good to see you. Catch us up on what you've been up to lately.
Oh, what have I been doing, man? So one of my passions is teaching spin classes. So I just started teaching spin classes down here with one of the largest Black-owned fitness companies in the world, Effect Fitness here in Atlanta. So that's something I've been doing. I have a mindset training company called Remind. It's based on one, changing the way you think, and two, changing your perception of the world. That way you're not rolling around stressed and angry and mad all the time. And that's pretty much it, man. Those are my two things. Being a parent. I got a 20-year-old. She'll be 21 actually tomorrow.
Amen.
Year-old daughter who will be a senior at UMass Boston, and I got an 8-year-old son who I just dropped off at school a few minutes ago.
How about that, right? So
Yeah.
you got a nice little gap. I'm interested in this idea of Remind, right? Tell me a little bit more about what is it you do with that to help people remind themselves of the power that they have, and that many of the things that hold us back or the barriers that we have, it's all in the mind.
It 100% it's all in the mind. So Remind is really a play on words. Remind meaning you got to change your mindset or rewire or reprogram your mind, right? And then the other part of Remind is a lot of the stuff that I teach, you already know, but what happens is we forget when we get emotional or we get heated or we get frustrated. Or as my mom likes to say, your home training goes out the window when you get upset, right? So just reminders in those moments of stress and those moments of, like I said, frustration and anger. Remind yourself that you control your thoughts, right? And you control how you feel, but it all begins in the mind. I've never seen somebody, if you're upset, it's not because you're thinking happy thoughts, right? It's the opposite way around. Usually if you're upset, your emotions follow your thoughts, right? So if you're thinking something that's making you upset, the goal is or to remind yourself that you are in control of your thoughts. You are in control of the way you feel. Look at the situation from another angle. So hopefully you can come to a better solution.
Yeah, I love that idea. So at the Dream Summit, Eli Smith presenting the Dream Summit, and we have a great weekend ahead. What are some of the things that you're going to remind the audience of during your talk as one of the keynote speakers?
We know one of the first things I always talk about right out the gate is an acronym that I learned at Notre Dame from Lou Holtz. What's important now? WIN. What's important now? So focus on only the things that are important to you. A lot of us, what I do is I have people write down 3 to 5 things that make you happy, and another 3 to 5 things that are important. And the next step is to focus your life around those 6 to 10 things. Right? What's important to you and what makes you happy. One of the problems that we have, or I've seen, is that, especially for me in the past, before I developed this mindset, was just wasting time on a bunch of things that I couldn't control, I couldn't change, or weren't important to me. A lot of times we get frustrated because we're not where we want to be in life. But you got to look at your habits. What are you doing to make sure you get to where you want to be in life? And if you're not focusing on things that are important to you, then what are you focusing on? What are you doing exactly? You're wasting time on something that really doesn't matter to you in the long run. So one of the first things I focus on, without giving everything away today, is to just focus on yourself. You know what I mean? I know it sounds selfish at times, but at the end of the day, if you don't take care of yourself, there's nobody else you can help. In your life, you're the most important person in your life, because if you don't take care of you, there's nothing else you can do. So the first step is to focus on you and what's important in your life.
As I'm listening to you, Dorsey, I'm thinking that oftentimes we don't understand that, or we make things important that really aren't. And
Right.
so that's where the if you will, that's where the confusion comes in, right? Because we're investing time and energy in things that really have no value or no return, and so that really gets us off track. So I love this idea of what are the 3 to 5 things that make you happy? What are the 3 to 5 things that are important to you? But sometimes you got to look at that list and say, is that really important to me? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and that list will change.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
It's not
As we
static,
grow
right?
and evolve, that's one of the things I talk about in my program as well is change. The only constant in this universe is change. Nothing's going to stay the same. Everything
Mm-hmm.
changes at some point in time, which means that your mindset has to change along with the way the world is changing.
Yeah, I
Right. So
think
just about embracing change and going with the flow. You know, a lot of times because there's so much comfort and stability and having something familiar.
right,
You
right.
know, but at the end of the day, all of our growth, man, it happens outside of our comfort zone.
Talk to me. Okay, right?
You got to step outside that comfort zone in order to grow. And if you're comfortable, usually you're probably doing something that's familiar, and you're not
Mm,
moving outside of your comfort zone. So, um, like I said, change is inevitable. It's not only possible, it's inevitable. Everything's going to change. So if you embrace that, a lot of times we get so upset because things aren't the way they used to be. You know, I think about when we were growing up back in Syracuse, how much things have changed. I
right.
remember years ago, I was talking to my daughter. I was like, listen, we didn't have the internet growing up.
No.
And she goes, no way. You got to be,
Right,
what do you mean? It's like, what did you do without the internet?
right,
Right. And I'm like,
right,
listen. And I had to explain to her, man, everything. It's not when she's an adult and when she has kids, they're going to be things that she didn't have growing up that her kids are going to have.
right.
You know, that's the nature of the world we live in. It's just embrace change. You know, sometimes we fight it tooth and nail. We don't want things to change. We want them to stay the same, but we are going to change. Look at us. We get old, right? We all
Right,
change.
right, right.
I didn't have gray hairs 10, 15
Right,
years
right,
ago.
right,
You
right.
know what I mean? It's just embracing change.
And you had hair too, right?
I
Back
did have hair, and it grew back when I cut it off. Amazingly.
right, right, right. So by the way, Dorsey Levens, one of the keynote speakers at the Dream Summit, August 27, 28. You can get your tickets yet by mydreamsummit.com. And as you know, there will be some limits. So you better get them right now. The thing that I'm interested also in your journey, when you talk about change, you know, when you saw what was happening at Notre Dame and said, I don't know, I need, this is not going to be good for me. How difficult a decision was that for you?
You know, I was so miserable. It was really an easy decision.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. I just made a bad decision. Notre Dame is not it's not for everybody,
Right.
and it's
Okay.
not for me. It's a small Irish Catholic school.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I watched School Days too many times or I watched A Different World too many times, but my college experience wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Sure.
You know, I remember my dorm, man. My original dorm was built in 1891. My RA lived across from my dorm, and he was a priest. My roommate snored like he was a polar bear, and the room was probably literally six, I say 8 by 8. It wasn't big at
Right.
all. So
Right.
it was just a whole bunch of things. Then on top of that, I wasn't playing.
Right.
You know, but then what happened was at the end of my freshman year, I balled out in spring football. I got MVP of the spring game. So I was going into my sophomore year as a starting tailback. And then I hurt my knee up at Syracuse University working out that summer. So it was just it just didn't work out, man. It wasn't from top to bottom. I remember when I first got there, even before school started, I was calling home and I felt like a little girl because I was calling home to my mother crying. And I was like, yo, I hate it here. I hate it. I want to come home. And she was like, nah, you're homesick. You've never lived away from home. Just it'll get better. And it didn't.
Never did.
So that decision was very easy. And then I came out here to Atlanta, and the rest, I fell in love with the city. The rest is history.
Yeah, you haven't left, right?
No, no, I haven't. And you know, it's crazy. When I was on my visit, I said that. I was like, I may never leave here. I really may never leave here.
Yeah.
You know, because Atlanta, if most people have been here by now, but it's the black mecca of this country.
Sure it is. Sure it is. And you probably, you know, you, as long as you've been there, you have seen, you talk about change. a city that has undergone dramatic change as it continues to grow.
Oh yeah, there's probably about 2 million more people here now than it was when I first got here in 1991. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're over 6 million now. It was just over 4 million when I got here.
ATL representing, and many of the people that you run into are from Syracuse, right?
Oh yeah. Half of Syracuse still moved down to Atlanta, and I can't blame them. That at some point in time, that cold weather is enough.
Yeah, no, it's pretty interesting. What's your, uh, Eli's putting this thing together. What do you think about this idea of bringing all of you all together for this sort of event?
I think it's great in that it's inspiring. And it's for people to have contact with and be in touch with and listen to in person. People who have had some success, just to hear them in person. I know one of the things for me growing up, I never really seen pro football players. I was never introduced to pro football players. I mean, I met like Rob Drummond at SU I was a big fan of his, because I could see Rob, I could touch him. I saw him on the hill and he'd be like, "Hey,
Right,
Dorsey, what's up?" And I
right.
think that's just to have contact with somebody who's been there before, for me was a game changer. It's like, oh, because the perception was growing up, at least for me being in Syracuse, is that all the NFL guys I saw on TV and most of the college guys who didn't go to SU, that wasn't attainable.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I don't know anybody who's done that. That's not familiar to me. So I think meeting those guys, I think my dad took me to a Bills game when I was just a kid, things of that nature. Just being in contact with people who've done things. Like I said, that for me that was a game changer.
One thing I could say about you, you have, obviously being in the NFL and having won a Super Bowl, got the ring, the whole thing, but you've also maintained many of the ties with people who you grew up with here, which is a way, and that's hard for some people because oftentimes that isn't something that happens when you achieve a certain level of success. To what do you attribute that you're able to still hang out with some of the people that you actually grew up with?
Um, Man, they're just friends. Day ones down from when we didn't have nothing. I was talking to my boy yesterday about how it's amazing how in this day and age with all the technology, back in the early to mid '80s, we could get 20 guys at one park at one time, and everybody would be there. We didn't have no cell phones, no text messages. We didn't even have call waiting. And we could fill up any park we decided on that whatever day it was at whatever time, and we would just go ball out. So those are the guys that I grew up with, man. People used to be in awe of how good we were at basketball, when I was in high school. But I'm like, dude, these dudes that I'm playing with, we've been playing together for 10 years. At every park in Syracuse, Berry Park, Thornton Park, Kirk Park, Wilson Park, any park we could find, we were there. So these guys, man, it's just, I mean, I've lost some friends too.
Sure.
We keeping it real because, like we talked about, things change, people
Right,
change,
right.
situations change. So, but a lot of my guys, man, mostly my high school guys that I grew up with, a lot of guys that I played football with at Sherman Park back in the
Yeah.
day. Those are the guys that I'm still cool with.
And you've over the years have supported uh, Sherman Park with your with financially.
Yeah,
Why was that important to you? Sherman Park Pee Wee football, I should say.
yeah. No, the whole organization. It was that was my first experience of football. That's where I fell in love with football. I remember when I was 8, I saw a kid on my block who played for Westvale, and I begged my dad. I was like, "Come," I was like, Please, can I go play? Please, can I go play football?" And it was too late to sign up for that year. So the next year, I lived on the west side on Onondaga Ave. So Westvale was closer, but then the next year we went to Sherman Park.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there for 5 years. I was from 9 years old until 14. And that's where, like I said, a lot of my I don't know. I don't have many long term friends that I didn't play with from Syracuse that I
Right.
didn't play with at Sherman Park.
And that's something,
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
it's embedded in you. For people going to the summit, what do you think are going to be the keys for those who are attending to have a successful outcome? What would you say to them to make the day as successful as possible for them?
just really soak it up. And if you can't remember the information that's being told to you, write it down or record it.
Right.
Like I said, because these are people, you look at Jamel from ESPN, Soledad O'Brien from CNN. These people are highly successful, and they're not successful by accident. You have to actually work at it. So just listen to what they did. I think more importantly, the work ethic, and understanding, especially when you're talking about young entrepreneurs, is that 90% of new businesses fail.
Right. 90%, yeah.
90%, but the mindset is knowing that going in, you're kind of more prepared than someone who doesn't know that. You're going to have challenges, you're going to have obstacles, you're going to have problems. How do you face those problems? Because those of us who are successful, we've had major obstacles that we've had to overcome. I could talk to you days and days about obstacles that I've had, injuries in football and just life stuff. That's part of life. That's what we go through. And I think understanding that gives people more hope when they hit a snag, when they're trying to start a business or whatever you do in life. Just having the understanding that this is the way this life goes. I don't know who promised us that life was going to be easy and we're not going to have any problems. And then when we did have problems, we needed to get stressed out about it, or worried about it, or be anxious about it. We've been misinformed. In this lifetime, one thing that's promised, we're going to have some challenges.
Sure.
I don't know anybody who's gone through life without having any problems. That's not the way this lifetime works. So if you embrace that and understand that when you have a problem, it won't disable you. It won't shut you completely down. You'll understand that, oh, this is part of the process. How do I get past these problems?
You've won at the highest level, and I'll have you finish and close with this. You're going to talk about, mindset. What's the difference between a champion and somebody who is striving to be one? Like, what's the difference? What did it take to be the champion in everything that you do? Because, and you gave us the blueprint. You said sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, but there's something that enables us to be the champion. I'm a Knicks fan. I'm still trying to figure out what's going to take for my team to get there. But anyway, there's a whole other thing. But in my own life, right? What's the next highest level so that you're not always on the come up, that you've come up?
I think the biggest thing is you got to persevere. You got to keep going no matter what happens, because listen, none of the stuff that happened to me, my NFL career, none of that stuff, I dreamed about it, but I had to overcome a lot of stuff to get there, man. Like that, what happened to me at Notre Dame, the mindset that I had, especially when I got to Georgia Tech and we had a coaching change at Georgia Tech and I got moved to wide receiver my junior year. You just got to keep going, man. With no guarantee that you're going to have the outcome that you're going to have. You just got to keep moving forward and see what happens. Because there was a time when I gave up on my NFL dream. I was in Atlanta my junior year. I just finished my junior year. I played wide receiver. Didn't have a great year because I'm not a wide receiver. I'm a running back. And I was like, man, okay, so this NFL thing is not going to work out. I need to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what I did my junior year was I just buckled down on my academics. I went to my academic advisor. I was like, listen, I told him just what I told you. I don't think this NFL, this is not going to work out. I need to buckle down and get a job. I actually graduated before I got drafted because I didn't think I was going to get drafted. I got moved back to tailback my senior year, and things worked out, man. But the difference between the people who make it and the people who don't is perseverance, man. Like I said, once those problems the problems and challenges come, and they're gonna come. They're gonna come. Like the sun rises every morning, we're gonna have some challenges. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. Like I said, and some of the things that I was thinking mentally, like one of the things I talk about too and remind is inner dialogue. Be careful about what you say to yourself because you believe it.
Sure.
And in my mind, going into my senior year, I was like, yo, I'm a bust. Like I was a high school All-American and I didn't do jack in college. So trying to overcome that mindset as well, going back to tailback my senior year, man, it was there were a lot of things that I had to overcome. A lot of them mentally, which is why I think this program is so important, because we let our thoughts go unchecked a lot of times, right? And like I said, we believe what we tell ourselves. So that inner dialogue is very important. What you believe about yourself is way more important than what anybody else believes about you.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So the difference is very plain and simple. It's mindset.
Mindset at the beginning and at the end of the day. Well, I tell you what, that's a little sample of what y'all going to get at the Dream Summit with Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 31 champion, Dorsey
Should have been
Levens.
Super Bowl 32 and 32. Super Bowl 39. We lost both joints. It's okay, though. It's all good.
Couple of them, right? Did I get it wrong? All right. Correct me and get it right. So tell me which one now.
No. I did win Super Bowl 31. You're right. But I lost Super Bowl 32 and I lost Super Bowl 39.
So
I played in 3 Super Bowls.
3 Super Bowls. So
my last game was against that boy Tom Brady, who's still going at it, man. All these years later, he's still going at it.
Well, look, as a Giants fan, I can say I'm 2-0 against Tom Brady. So, well, listen, Dorsey, how do people connect with you for your program, and if they're in the ATL, take your spin class?
So just follow me really on Facebook and Instagram, Dorsey Levens 25 on Instagram, Dorsey Levens on Facebook. On Facebook, there's about 5 different profiles for me, only one of which is mine.
Okay.
Apparently people have a lot of free time on their hands and they want to just pretend to be people they're not.
All right. So who are you? Which one, when we find you, who are you actually in all of those profiles?
There's a picture of me running a football against the 49ers, I want to say.
Okay.
That's the one. That's my account.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. But I'm also on LinkedIn and Twitter at Dorsey Levens, everywhere.
Everywhere. Dorsey, always good. We'll look forward to seeing you in the Cuse this weekend coming up on the 27th and 28th. MyDreamSummit.com. Make sure you have your tickets. Dorsey, good to talk to you and always good to see you.
Appreciate you, my brother.
Inspiration for the nation.